Hello, I'm Eric Snodgrass, and thank you for watching today's weather outlook for the southern region, brought to you by Nutrien Ag Solutions. Well, we'd been discussing in all of our videos over the last 10 days about the potential for some pretty cold weather as we began April. And we're just looking here at 6 a.m. temperature, so right as the sun was rising on April Fool's Day, April 1st. But this was no joke. We actually got some pretty chilly temperatures right down here. We kind of discussed this, having the potential for some, for some frost here across the very northern parts of Alabama, Mississippi, and Georgia, and certainly back into Tennessee, Kentucky, and over toward Arkansas, Missouri. So we knew that we had some cooler weather that was coming in, but we're about to see some pretty big changes overall in the flow, such that the probability of this happening again in the near term is pretty low. So we've endured kind of the cold start to April, but some warmer conditions are coming. But unfortunately, with those warmer conditions, we're going to expect to see a lot of rain across the southern region, especially the eastern half of that. We're just looking here at rainfall, total accumulated rainfall from the European model, stretching us all the way out to next Tuesday morning. And what do we see? We see a pretty widespread swath here of anywhere between an inch to, in some locations, maybe over 2 to 3 inches of rainfall. And we got a pretty active pattern to discuss. There is most certainly severe weather threat multiple times with these next couple of systems coming through. So let's step back, diagnose it, and figure out when and where this rain is coming. All right. First of all, we need it, okay? So when you look over the last 30 days, we overall are at a bit of a deficit. This is looking at percent of normal. The southern region down here, honestly, we need to get some early season rainfall. Problem is we're trying to get a crop planted right now, and this is the timing of this could be problematic for field work. But let's just step through and kind of see what we're dealing with. Early in the morning on Tuesday, we're still dealing with our system that's kind of pushing out here through parts of Georgia and South Carolina. This system's going to race right up the East Coast, which is why we have storm warnings offshore. We have gale wind warnings offshore. This is going to be a pretty powerful little system, thankfully staying pretty far to the east. But the real thing we have to watch is the fact that a big system's coming onshore out west, and it's going to be this pattern that sets up that brings several systems that where the shortwave troughs, I always talk about those things, they kind of start here and then they work right across the southern region. So let's watch that, at least in our high resolution model, over the next 60 hours. So quick play, first system exits, second system comes over the mountains, and there it is. By the time we get into the day on Wednesday and then throughout the day on Thursday, you saw there's the strong storm threat. In fact, I can just kind of rewind this real quick and show it to you. This is now getting into Wednesday afternoon and evening right there. We're going to have to watch for discrete supercell thunderstorm formation in parts of Texas, really getting up into Oklahoma. Be prepared for this to build down a line right in through this area. I've been kind of watching that carefully to see the probability of that happening. But as it skirts on through, this is now getting into the late evening hours on Wednesday into early Thursday morning. That severe weather threat pushes over here into the mid-south, getting all the way down to the lower Mississippi River Valley. So certainly this week is going to start off, with wet in the southeast, and then midweek we got some severe storm threat. Just to show you what the Storm Prediction Center is looking out for, this whole region in through here, as that system passes through, certainly has the risk for some stronger thunderstorms. But like I said, we're going to be watching for discrete supercell thunderstorm development here, really kind of centered around Oklahoma City, getting back over toward the west. And then we'll have to watch to see if this builds down a line into the northern part of Texas here. But then this is going to be moving to the east with time, such that by Thursday, pretty large area down there in Arkansas, Mississippi, and Louisiana, where we've got a slight risk for severe weather. Just remember, though, a slight risk, that's a 15% or greater probability of having a severe weather within 25 miles of any given point. So this is going to be the main focal point as we get into the day on Thursday. And this severe weather threat, it lessens, but it pushes to the east with time here as we progress to the end of the week. So starting you off, again, this is just taking a look Tuesday afternoon. Here's our coastal low. This one's going to race up the east coast here, staying offshore enough that it's not going to be a major problem for the northeast, but the winds with this are going to be pretty intense. Let me just wind you back here. See this? See, it's just enough off the coast that really windy, wet just off coast, but only bringing some precip to the I-95 corridor. But look, by the time Wednesday morning gets here, high pressure dominates much of the southern region here. But with this high pressure tucked away over Alabama and South Carolina, we're going to get some return flow. See it? The flow kind of comes right like this around this high back into Texas, curling into our next system. So let's watch that one again. Here I go. I got you out to Thursday, early Thursday, getting into Thursday mid-morning here. We're already watching for widely scattered showers and thunderstorms. Again, that's our severe threat by the time I get you into Thursday afternoon, evening here across the lower Mississippi River Valley. So that's our heavy rain, severe weather threat for Thursday evening. Now look, this translates to the east by Friday morning. So what this image is showing you. This is Friday afternoon and Friday evening. Now, by the time we start off Saturday, higher pressure tries to take over, but the center of that high pressure is tucked away way up here in kind of southeastern Canada. So out ahead of that, we have our precip, and behind it we have more precip coming into Texas. But then watch the next system move through. This is now Saturday evening. Again, strong return flow, plenty of warm air coming up with this one, but with that warm, moist, unstable air, next low pressure system that fires up on Sunday midday, look out ahead of it, heavy rain, more showers and thunderstorms pressing across the southeast. So we have a very stormy, I got you all the way out here, by the way, the next Tuesday, a very stormy next 7 to 8 days here across much of the southern region, picking up quite a bit of rainfall. The days in between the rain, I think, are going to be fewer than the days of rain when we just look over the next 8 days, and that's why we saw those higher precipitation totals. Now, what's helping spur this all along is the jet stream across the Pacific. And the jet stream across the Pacific is quite zonal. We've been talking a lot about this in our forecast videos. But let's kind of look at the result of that zonal jet stream. What it's doing as it gets toward that position by the end of this week is we're going to eliminate this bigger ridge over Alaska and this trough that's sitting here over the Hudson Bay. Now, remember, our coldest Aprils feature this trough. But it doesn't mean that you have to have it to have a little bit cooler than average weather. There's other ways by which we can do that. But certainly in the near term, cool weather after we start off this week isn't going to be something we're going to be discussing. Let me show you what I mean. As I progress through the middle of the week, watch this again. As we progress through the middle of the week, we see that ridge gets basically eroded there over Alaska. The strong Pacific jet takes over. And even though we have these little shortwaves that sneak underneath the ridging that'll be happening here, this isn't bringing in really cool air. I'll show you those temperature anomalies in a few seconds. By the time we get to the 12th, 11th, 13th, we do see some ridging over the southeast, but notice this feature here that's kind of east of Greenland, this ridge, it's just, west of Greenland. This started off in Europe and is kind of pushed here across part of the North Atlantic. And what that does is that just in general gives us a much stormier pattern here across the United States. And yes, some cooler weather with it, but nothing like we've seen. A few degrees cooler than average, which in mid-April is still relatively warm. But this tells me a pretty active pattern is setting up and one we're going to have to watch very carefully. Now, see what I mean? Look at the much colder than average temperatures as we start off the day on Tuesday. You'll see those erode pretty quickly as we progress through the week and in toward the weekend, such that we get a pretty decent warm-up here. See this warm-up we're expecting? Now, with each one of these little short waves that comes through, yeah, we get a little bit of a cooler weather, but it's not like it's going to be much colder than average. Then again, by the time we get to the 12th, 13th, 14th, remember we got this trough that kind of sits here, which keeps the warmer conditions over some of the southern region, but cooler than average here, just a couple of degrees cooler than average tucked away. But that pattern there stays pretty active. Remember, whenever we have a trough that is coming out of the four corners, the southern region, we have to be on the lookout for some strong to severe weather. As I just take you all the way out here to mid-April, we see that pattern really kind of hangs on. So putting that all together, look at week 2 here. We certainly see, so let's just get beyond week 1, week 2. If that pattern does set up like this, that tends to keep this whole region, which includes much of the southern region, wet. So like we've been talking, our major threat as we progress into spring 2019 is going to be the threat for being much wetter than average. We've already dealt with flooding since February, and this is certainly going to be a continual problem as we press forward. Be sure to tune into my.nutrienagsolutions.com tomorrow when I release my latest long-range update that'll take us all the way through May, even get another sneak peek of what's going on this summer. So keep a close eye on it. We'll talk to you then tomorrow. But with that, I'll go ahead and wrap up this forecast video. We at Nutrien Ag Solutions hope you look forward to our next Southern Region forecast coming out later this week. In the meantime, I hope you have a great week, and we'll talk to you again soon. Thank you.